Hello, and welcome to Chapter 11, Intersections and Freeway Driving. This chapter is designed to prepare drivers for identify and approach intersections, safely stop before entering an intersection, turn at intersections, negotiate roundabouts, turn on an expressway, merge onto and exit freeways, properly position your vehicle for freeway driving. So again, as we've done in previous units, you're going to write the answer to this chapter pre-quiz and have it prepared for the final email at the end of the unit. So question number 1 is freeway speed change or weave lanes are A, used for both acceleration and deceleration, B, never used for both acceleration and deceleration, C, used only for acceleration when merging, or D, used only for deceleration. Question 2, when you are turning, you should A, have the right of way if you use your turn signal, B, use extra caution and yield the right of way to other drivers, C, yield only to pedestrians in the crosswalk, D, turn only at intersections controlled by signals. When you are entering the highway, you need to A, honk and immediately enter the highway, B, adjust speed and position to avoid collisions, C, wait for a vehicle to give you a signal, or D, pull in behind the third vehicle that passes by. 4, the most effective way to merge 2 lanes of traffic into 1 lane is to use the blank technique. A, scissor merge, B, funnel merge, C, traffic cone merge, D, zipper merge. Question 5, roundabouts are considered A, traffic altering devices, B, traffic calming devices, C, traffic diverting devices, or D, traffic halting devices. And here's a review of what we're going to work on in this unit. First, we're going to look at intersections, then roundabouts. We're going to skip the driver's ed scenarios as we've been skipping through those the entire time. Expressways and freeways. We will skip the target zone and look at the BAM-CAM videos. First, we're going to start with intersections. So here we have an intersection with green lights, and we are looking at points where the roads and the driver's path of travel intersect with each other at various angles. Points where you meet other road users as everyone works, and I apologize, my notes are not moving forward here just yet, as everyone works to continue straight or change direction as each user needs to do. Here we have a giant question mark. Why are intersections risky? In short, because there are many vehicles close together in a concentrated space. More vehicles equal more opportunities for conflict. More conflict equals increases chances of crashing. At some intersections, it's very difficult to see into the spaces which traffic may be approaching. You can reduce your risk at intersections by understanding how intersections are configured, how to safely travel through them, approaching, stopping, and turning. Okay, so we're going to just review a little bit. As you're approaching the intersection, you should search the entire area from 45 degrees to the left to 45 degrees to the right. This allows you to not see only what's in the intersection and around it, but what's approaching the intersection as well. And here they're stopped at the intersection, so if possible, time your arrival so stopping isn't necessary. If a signal is red, slow down and the signal might change to green by the time you reach the intersection. Here we describe the search pattern when you should plan your turn at a T intersection where the road or street you are traveling on ends and you must turn. We want to look left, right, left. It is good practice to always look left at the end of the sequence. The closest intersection traffic will be approaching from your left side. It does not take long to perform these checks, but they can pay off mightily in helping prevent a crash. Describe the search pattern to safely enter a four-way intersection where cross traffic is not required to stop. Left, right, ahead, left again. Sometimes you might get the green and might be able to move through an intersection without having to stop before entering. How should you adjust your speed in this situation before entering the intersection? In this situation, you should lift your foot off the accelerator and rotate it so it's positioned directly over the brake pedal. This is called covering the brake. This technique is not used so much to decrease your speed, but to reduce the time it takes to start braking if you need to. By covering the brake, you can begin to apply the brakes earlier. It takes time to move your foot from accelerator pedal to the brake pedal. As you cover the brake, you will already have moved your foot well before you enter the intersection. That way, if you need to brake, you can press the brake pedal immediately. You might be able to brake in, say, half seconds sooner. The reduction in time does not sound much like braking that much earlier and can make the difference between a crash and a near miss. Your right foot does not actually touch the brake pedal. The brakes are not applied. So when you approach an intersection with a green light, always cover the brake. This technique is useful when approaching a stale green light. A stale green light is a signal light that's been green for a while. You will have noticed it's green way back before you approach the intersection, and thus it's more likely to turn yellow before entering the intersection. With your right foot covering the brake, you are ready to begin controlled, even threshold braking, even if the light does turn yellow. It all comes down to not only looking ahead, but thinking ahead and preparing for what could happen. Eyes up, brain on, anticipate. How can a pedestrian crossing signal be used to anticipate when a green signal is about to turn yellow? The pedestrian signal for the crossroad counts down to 0 while your signal is green. Once the pedestrian signal counts down to 0, the traffic signal faces you changes from green to yellow. If you use this technique to continue, you also thoroughly search for the intersection for hazards. So here's solid yellow and solid red. What does a solid yellow traffic signal mean? It tells you that a red signal is coming next. It lets you know you must clear or remain clear of the intersection. All right, and here is just a scenario. We're not going to even work on this. We're going to skip to this next picture here. So here is a stop line. Intersections with white stop lines, also called limit lines or stop bars, where you must stop. Before any portion of the vehicle moves on top of your vehicle, on top or beyond those lines. At intersections with crosswalks, marked or unmarked, but no stop lines, where must you stop? Before the front of the vehicle enters the crosswalk. And we'll show that in just a second. So here we can see a stop line. I'd like to know which driver stopped correctly and incorrectly. So if you could take just a moment to write down, is this black SUV stopped correctly? How about the red one? How about the yellow one? And then again, the sedan on the right. Here we have a stop bar located a good distance back. At some intersections, regulatory signs point to stop lines to direct drivers when the stop lines are placed more in advance of the intersection than they might expect. So here, maybe they have a sign telling them to stop sooner, and they're allowing the pedestrians to cross. Here you could see this sign that says stop here on red, and this might be positioned right next to this stop bar. You can see here, this car did not correctly stop at the stop line. Now, what they've done is potentially they stopped at the stop line, as this picture shows, but then they've decided that the stop line, backing up again, is too far back from the intersection. So what we're doing here is we are rolling forward a little bit to attend a double stop for obstructed view. So what we've done is we've stopped on our stop line, and essentially, as you would hear me say if I was instructing you behind the wheel, checking for pedestrians or saving the pedestrians. Then we're going to inch forward and turn to the right, or look to the right and look to the left to see what's coming. This here is called a staggered stop. So at some intersections, it's not okay to have all three lines or lanes come up and stop equal to each other. The reason it is maybe a semi truck was here and needed to make a turn. They needed to offset the lines to allow that semi truck to turn adjacent to it. By staggering the stop or bringing you a little farther back, you increase the safety of yourself and allow an increased turn in radius. Here, we want to talk about not blocking the intersection. So here we can see potentially this vehicle had a green light at one point in time. He thought he could make it through with very much ease and convenience. Unfortunately, the light turned red, and now all this traffic is moving through. At this point in time, he has not obstructed this traffic. However, if the light turns green and allows this traffic to go, which we can see it has, he's now obstructed this traffic. So we do have issues along the way that this vehicle here has obstructed one lane of traffic. Crossing the intersection, we want to make sure that we have a good gap. Why is it important to be able to judge gaps in traffic? Once you reach an intersection, you must decide when it's legal and safe to proceed across the turn. A gap in traffic, the distance or time between the back of one vehicle and the front of the next. What size gap in traffic do you need? This depends on the time required to safely clear an intersection or turn and join the flow of traffic. Turning requires more time than crossing straight through an intersection. Speeds of other approaching vehicles also factor in. So does the number of lanes you'll be crossing. Going straight. From a stop, you need about 4 seconds to cross an intersection 30 feet across. You should wait for a gap in traffic of at least 6 seconds to ensure you can cross without causing another road user to adjust because of your action. It's not enough to allow only enough gap in traffic that you do not crash. You must have enough gap that no one else changes their speed, their position, or their direction, or needs to communicate with you, especially as you're learning to drive. You might find it helpful to count aloud, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, to measure and judge distance and times. For a right turn here on a street where traffic is moving at 30 miles per hour, you need a gap of 8 to 9 seconds. So we need to look down and see, is this about 8 to 9 seconds away for a right turn at 30 miles an hour? Highways, we would need 14 seconds as the speeds are roughly 55 miles per hour. Left turn in urban areas, we need 11 seconds for a left turn at 30 miles per hour and 14 seconds at 55. To start from the furthest lane to the right lane. Before you enter the intersection, position your vehicle to the far left or far right, depending on which lane you want to turn. So here, if we're looking for a left turn, again, we've talked about this in past units. We're going to essentially make an imaginary line of lining up the double yellows. Oops, I apologize, and crossing across here. Now, if this is a double left turn lane, this car has the right of way and will be traveling along with this car. They are just focusing on the outer lane here, as we can see with the yellow. So both cars would turn left. This gold car is going to focus on the double yellow lines, and this green car essentially is going to focus on the right edge of the roadway and turn together. So first lane of traffic, we have here a no turn on red. So when we're working at an intersection, if we're preparing to turn right, there are occasions when we can turn right on red. We must stop, clear the intersection, and then we can proceed. However, at some intersections, they deem it unsafe to turn on red. So this sign here is posted at all times and state you are not allowed to turn when the light is red. So if the light turns red, you must stay and wait for a green light. You are also not able to turn when pedestrians are in the crossing walks. You must fully stop, yield right of way to the other road users. Okay. Rules for turning left. What are some general rules for turning left across oncoming traffic? Identify an adequate gap in oncoming traffic. Yield the right of way to all oncoming vehicles. Even with a turn protected by a green arrow signal, drivers must be absolutely certain the intersection is clear, the path of travel is open before turning. So should you pull into the middle of an intersection while waiting to turn left? Some jurisdictions allow drivers to pull into the intersection while waiting to turn left in unprotected across oncoming traffic. In Michigan, we can do that. We can come up one car length past the white stop line and prepare for the turn. Here they're saying it's not best to enter the intersection until you're ready to move your turn. That's going to be dependent on your instructor and your comfort level. You are less exposed if you were stopped in the middle of the intersection and you don't know if other drivers will let you come through. However, in Michigan, if you are stuck and the light turns red, you are able to clear the intersection. So I'm going to veer off that information just a little bit there. Here we can see that you are waiting to turn left. Which way should the front of your wheels be turned? They should not be turned at all. If you need to, when you're preparing to turn left, keep your wheels straight. If that way, if you get crashed from behind, you might be less likely to be pushed left into oncoming traffic. So here again, when we're preparing to turn left, we would pull forward, we would prepare to make the turn with our wheels straight. And then when the opportunity is there, that's when we would turn our wheels and continue the turn for completion. Here, what traffic sign is silver and has 8 sides? It's the back side of a stop sign. How could you be seeing a silver 8-sided sign be useful to you? It lets you know that drivers approaching it from the other direction must stop. This is useful because it can help you predict other drivers' next moves. It can help you time when you stop at your own intersection. I apologize, my notes are not coming up very quickly here. This next one here, we can see the back side of that stop sign again. What should you do when the driver ahead of you starts to signal to turn left? Immediately look at oncoming traffic to see if the car ahead must slow. This tells you if you must also slow. If so, start slowing now. Take your foot off the accelerator and gently brake. Be sure to tap your brake pedal a couple of times first to warn the driver behind you you're about to slow. Should you consider avoiding left turns? This is a personal decision based on how competent you are in left turns, a realistic assessment of your skill to do so safely, and are there reasonable alternatives to turn left into oncoming traffic? I think though we should all try to prepare to turn left, and if you're preparing to take the state third-party test to show your skill set, there are left turns in it. So if you're really focusing on this slide to think, oh, I never have to turn left at an intersection, just know to pass your skills test in the third-party road test area, there are left turns you must complete. So we want to make sure that you're competent and confident in those left turns when you work with your behind the wheel instructor. Here we have another system you might see in an intersection is called a hawk beacon, designed to help protect pedestrians as they cross. Hawk beacons communicate boldly with drivers to let them know when a pedestrian is crossing or about to cross in the intersection. Hawk stands for High Intensity Activated Crosswalk Systems. Hawk beacons use a standard sequence of lights to communicate with pedestrian standards with drivers. The beacons employ a set of 3 signal lights, 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. The system is activated when a pedestrian presses the button on the side of the road. And here's a picture of that Hawk system. Dark until activated, yellow flashing is a warning of pedestrians. And oops, I'm going to back up. We should have had a red light in there, and it did not. Unfortunately, the slide is not working correctly, but here we have the flashing yellow. And then when if need to be stopped, these are red lights that would light up. Okay, so here, why is it important to offset and why? Offset how far your left or right opposing traffic is positioned. The type of offset can determine how well and how far ahead left turn drivers can see. The line of sight may be very extremely limited or very open. Line of sight here is how well we're able to see how far in the distance cars are. So as we're coming up here and preparing, we want to look and see, do we have the ability to turn all the way across the intersection? So we want to make sure we see both lanes here. Next, we're going to talk about roundabouts. They are an upcoming and new way of driving that's becoming more and more regular in Michigan. I make sure I take my individuals on 3 of them in one of my drive programs that I have to make sure we can see various levels of them. Here is a quick picture of what a roundabout looks like, and then I'm going to play a video to explain what they are. Oops, and I apologize. For some reason, we don't have. Oh, let me see if that helps. Okay, so as you saw in that one talked about Pennsylvania roundabouts, but the ideas are still the same. So we're going to go really quick as you're approaching. This is a roadside view. You're coming up, you're slowing and preparing. Some roundabouts you can see this one kind of kicks a little bit to the left to, as I say, throw you to the right. But we want to position it, kind of brings the vehicle around and then puts it in prime position to come into the roundabout. You do have the yield signs, so you're checking to the left as they reported and then coming in. Here, right now, we're showing it's not safe to enter. Okay, this vehicle in here has the right of way. They can go round and round and round if they want to. Hopefully they exit at some point in time, but this vehicle should stay stopped until this vehicle passes through. Here, this vehicle is far enough away to the left that this vehicle can come in. So you do not have to wait for a roundabout to be clear to come in, just the area that you're going to come into. Within the roundabout, we can see this is a road level view. We can see we have arrows here that we're working with. In Michigan, our speed limits are 15 miles per hour for the roundabout. So we want to keep that in mind as we come in and work through the roundabout. Very important to stay in our lane through the roundabout. We don't want to jump lanes when we're coming into the roundabout to increase our safety. Here you can show the multiple angles of a roundabout. So this lane comes in and it goes out. It can come around, but you can see which lane it must stay in here. Oops, I apologize. I hit the wrong button there. And then the second lane here is able to go here. Now they're showing this is red and a car shouldn't go here. However, they do. Ideally, what the car should be doing is coming in and heading out this way. But signage will give you information as to where to go. Also, too, this road arrow says that you can go this way. So I'm not sure why it's red and reporting you shouldn't go this way, because actually the pavement markings state you can. So we are going to say, as it looks, we should be entering, we can enter here. Here, this vehicle came in here. We have one here, and we have one going out on this direction. And then this car would be exiting out straight here to the straight ahead. Exiting, we want to signal your closest exit. It communicates your intention. This is something that not a lot of people do, so don't get upset if somebody didn't communicate in front of you. A lot of people come into these and just exit. So it's kind of like a guessing game is when they're leaving. This is something to work on with an instructor to see where you're at, where you're going, and how to exit. Using turn signals will let everybody know when you want to leave, but just take note that a lot of people do not use them in the intersection. And here again, we're going to add a little information here. The roundabout is a circle. How many degrees are in a circle? So this is showing that if you come in, you've left at a 90-degree angle. This is a 180-degree angle. And then if we continue to go, we should get 270 and come back out to 360. So when you're talking about the roundabout, you might say, I want to exit at 90 degrees. I want to exit at 180 degrees, 270, or 360. Another good, easy way to figure out where you're exiting a roundabout is they will also have the traffic street signs often somewhere posted right here and right here, so you know which street you're getting off on. For example, X Street or Y Street or Z Street or A Street. Okay, here I'm going to just leave it on here for a second. This is really nothing other than a simple PowerPoint to have us do an activity, but I'm trying to scroll through the driver's ed, which we know doesn't load very well. So if you'll give me just a moment here, we'll work on this loading up and moving through. And it's still loading, so. Still loading, bear with me. And still loading. There was a lot of driver's ed videos in this group here, so I am still scrolling through a moment. And we are still waiting. There's still more. Okay, now we are on to expressways and freeways. Think of a specific example of a time you witnessed a driver do something risky or dangerous on the expressway or freeway. And we'll talk about this. Expressways tend to be quick. They're all moving in one direction at one time. So people tend to maybe veer in, veer out, not use turn signals. There's multiple different things. People get a lot of confidence on this roadway here because there's not a lot interfering, not a lot of pedestrians, cars, there's no intersections. In cars, I should back up. There are a lot of cars on the freeway or expressway, but cars coming into intersections is where I was going with that statement. So here, how are median crossovers used for turning on an expressway? This one I'm going to skip right over. Michigan doesn't have these that I'm familiar with. If other states do, that can be something you look up and talk about, but I don't want to add anything confusing when we're talking about an expressway and turns, because in Michigan, our expressways are all straight through. So it's going to give me just a second here. We've got to kind of scroll through these PowerPoints and get to where we've got to be. We're going to run into a video here for merging. I apologize. I'm going to try pausing and resetting a second and see if we can't get this to play correctly for you. I'm going to go back to the original slide here a second. It's giving me some problems with downloading today. I'm going to give it just a minute, let it kind of catch up a second and see if we can get it back. So here's our slide. We're going to give it just a couple more seconds and then maybe we'll skip to the next slide, as it doesn't seem to want to download very nicely today. All right. Well, I apologize. We're going to leave merging alone in the video and go through it on the PowerPoints. So the two most common types of interchanges are the cloverleaf and the diamond. This is the cloverleaf here where you actually circle around and get on, or you circle around and enter the other way. And excuse me, I'm reporting that incorrectly, so let's do it correctly a second. So here you are on the expressway and you are getting off to merge onto another roadway here. And here again, you are on the expressway and getting off to merge here. Now here again is another exit ramp. So you can see the cloverleaf offers a couple of different opportunities to get on and get off the expressway. Where the diamond has us getting on the ramp here and following forward here, or it's going to curve us around to get us into the other position of traffic. So if you follow along, you're on the expressway, you're looping off to the right. If you're coming from this direction, you're going to go straight ahead, or you're going to get off and you're allowed to go right or turn left on the other roadway. So merging while on the ramp, we want to search through the lane for a safe gap in traffic. We want to maintain proper space, margin from cars that are on the ramp with you. Continue searching ahead and in the direction you intend to merge. So as we're merging on, we are gaining speed here, gaining speed, but we're also looking at traffic. Where are these cars, what's going on, and what's happening? So we are merging to this point here of this solid white line. This is where we're gaining our speed, gaining our understanding of the roadway, and what our actions can be next. This is called the entrance ramp. This is the acceleration lane. And this is the merge area. So when you hear an instructor talking about these three areas, you'll know where you're at. You are getting on the entrance ramp, you're accelerating to this point, and now we have the dots that allow us to merge on. As you near the acceleration lanes, signal and accelerate to the speed of traffic. So we want to make sure we're communicating, letting everybody know that we do want to come over. We're checking the gap in traffic and we can see clearly there is no traffic. So we have a good opportunity to merge when our opportunity comes up in just a moment. And I'm going to load some more PowerPoints here. Here we have now adjusted our speed. We have our communication factor going and we will be able to merge over as we have checked everything is all clear. Now that we have the dots. Once you're into the selected gap, you're going to just adjust your speed if necessary and maintain your lane position and continue on. You would then cancel signal. Here we can see there's a green light here. I have not seen a merge lane like this in Michigan. We tend to have this sign here. It doesn't mean that they're not out there or we wouldn't have a picture like this. But if you saw this, this is showing that everything is a green and you are able to merge onto traffic. I'm not sure how to explain if it was red, other than you would obviously stop at the stop line and wait for the green light to go. So again, this is a different view than what we're used to seeing in Michigan, but maybe someone you know in your family could explain right where one of these are. So here, stop on flashing red and proceed when it's clear. Again, this would probably be the sign for this light right here. And it's something I'm unfamiliar with in Michigan, but doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Here we have lane positionings. Okay, so we're talking about the left lane, the center lane, and the right lane. Here is the travel lane. So as we're going down the road, if we're going to be on there extended period of time or anytime, we would like to be on the right. This car here is okay to travel in the center lane, as this is also a travel lane. We can see this. But if we need to pass, we come over to the left lane. Okay, and gotta wait a minute for my videos and information are really loading slowly this afternoon. So this is an information sign as you're going down the road. This is kind of telling us camp in the mountains, not in the left lane. A lot of people going down the road want to stay in the left lane. They think it's a faster place of travel, when essentially they should be traveling in the center or the right lane for increased safety. Others in the left lane want to go maybe a particular speed faster than the speed limit. And if you're not going faster than that, you're going to upset that person and maybe increase chances of road rage. So we are supposed to, by law, travel in the right lane or the center lane on a 3-lane expressway and leave the left lane open for passing and movement forward. If you're already on the freeway when somebody is trying to merge, if there's going to be no confrontation with you in the car merging, you are welcome to stay back here and continue to do what you do. If there's going to be potential confrontation, we should try to move a lane over and allow this car to move in. Now, this car essentially needs to ask permission. So if we can't get over in a safe manner, we would maintain our speed and allow this car to merge either in front or behind us. Now, of course, understand that not everybody understands that we should be giving, this car should be asking for permission and that we own this space here essentially. So please just be aware, you may have to slow down to allow this car in or move over if at all possible. Here we have 2 warning signs that you might find on, well, you will find on the expressway. What is the difference between a merge sign and a lane added sign? The merge sign shows 2 lines coming together to form one, right here. The lane added sign shows 2 separate arrows separated by a dotted line. This is an information sign. We're going to check and see what the difference is. This is exit on the left. This is exit on the right. So this little top up here is showing you this information is for the left lane, and this information is for the right lane based on where this is positioned. And here we can see it in filled out fashion that it's telling you if you take exit 1A on the left, you can go to Boston. If you take exit 1B on the right, you can go to Concord, New Hampshire. And as this takes just a minute to load, sometimes these information signs are a little confusing. So it helps to make sure you have a pre-planned path of travel to know where you've got to go. Okay, we're going to talk about the zipper merge. So a lot of times we find this when we're in construction zone areas and they want us to zipper merge. And I'm going to kind of show you this here. So this is where the lane is closed. And ideally what we should be doing is alternating cars at a merge point. Now I say this is ideally. Out in the real world, this zipper merge does not form in a fashion like this. People have gotten bold and aggressive in their driving, and so they don't tend to let people in as they're supposed to. If this was set up and worked ideally like this, it'd be a beautiful picture. We'd have white car, blue car, 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 and so on. However, in the many years of driving, I've noticed that people get increasingly upset, as I've said, and they tend to block traffic here and not let you in. So please, 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 if you come to a construction area, which these are cones representing a construction area, attempt if you can to move over sooner, as waiting may increase your risk of collision, may increase your risk of not getting in the area. And this is purely due to the increase in aggressive driving. When you're training with the person who's going to train with you, they hopefully are able to find some construction and show you the safest way to merge in. As the zipper is a good idea, it just doesn't seem to work in the real world as nicely as this is. So here in this moment, I'm just being real as an instructor, where I know, explain to you exactly what this should look like. But I want you to understand at this point, how we merge into construction areas or tight areas is a little different than how textbook written would look. This is an exit ramp or a deceleration lane, working on us getting off the ramp here. When you are leaving the highway, enter the lane next to the deceleration lane, a mile or more before the intended exit. So what they're saying here is we don't want to wait by staying in this lane here and then realize, oh goodness, we need to get off here. We want to change lanes about a mile before and prepare. Now that might mean you're driving slowly behind a semi. You're driving in a lot slower traffic, maybe going way under the speed limit, and that's okay. We want to prepare early and be ready for this lane change to merge off the expressway when we need to get off. So here, avoid slowing down before entering the deceleration lane. So we don't want to slow down here to try to come in. We want to communicate, do all of our checks, check our rearview mirror, side mirror, and over the shoulder blind spot, and merge in at the same speed as we are here. We don't want to be like this guy and realize last moment, oh goodness, I need to be over here, so I'm going to brake abruptly, merge over quickly, and change lanes. On the expressway, it's all traffic going in one direction at a high speed, so we want to prepare ahead of time and take a little time to execute those maneuvers. Posted exit ramp speeds are usually low because of roadway design. It is dangerous to drive onto an exit ramp at exit speed. So again, we're going to merge over and we're going to slow down. This is still considered, whoops, I'm going to back up a little bit. This is still considered expressway here when we merge over as the ... So this is where we're maintaining speed, but as soon as we get here, we attempt to slow down. By the time we are on the deceleration lane, which is right here, we should be going at a nice slow pace to prepare to stop or a future merge if we're coming on to another interstate. All right, here you can see those posted speeds. So it's telling you that we need to be 25 through the lane here. All right. We're going to look next at a weave lane. Now, weave lanes, we have a couple in Kalamazoo. I'm not super familiar with all the expressway areas in Lansing, if you're from Lansing and you're reading this. But in your area, you may have a weave lane. And what those are an exit and an enter onto the expressway and off to the expressway. So here in this picture here, we're going to talk about the green car and the red car. So the red car is on the expressway. They're driving, zoom, 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 going there 70 miles an hour, and they need to get off here on this ramp. Now this green car is also driving from a side street wanting to enter the expressway. So what they need to do is they need to weave together to make this happen. So essentially, because this car is traveling faster, it's going to come into the ramp and then begin its deceleration to slow down to curve around the ramp. This car is likely going to have a speed limit that's slow to ensure the car is slowing and working behind the faster traffic. So this car essentially is coming in at a slower speed and then needs to gain speed on the expressway to merge on. Oops, I apologize, I clicked the wrong lane. And they don't spend a lot of time on the weave lane. We'll see in a couple slides. Unfortunately, my slides are not loading ahead of time for me to give you a precursor of what's coming, so I'm opening as I go. But the weave lane is something that if we don't talk about it in future slides here in just a moment, your behind the wheel instructor can review and discuss as well. Here we're showing one-way signs and yield signs. Under what circumstances might an acceleration lane be shorter than ideal? In some older freeway interchanges. So the big thing to know of the acceleration lanes in Michigan, I don't know if any two are alike. And I'm saying that it kind of sarcastically and fun, in that intersection or acceleration lanes are placed in areas that work and fit the area. So some are extremely long, some are extremely short. So as you work on an acceleration lane, you want to really have your skills honed in and find out what speed do I need to be going to get on the expressway? Have I communicated my information? Have I done my proper checks? And we want to be efficient about it because some of our ramps will be short and others will be long. And so we want to be prepared whether we have that short or long ramp. And here we have what is velocitation? Becoming used to or even desensitized to driving at higher speeds. So some individuals have difficulty at driving at higher speeds. Over a period of time, they get more comfortable with it with just practice. What are the possible results of velocitation? It can result in a driver exiting a ramp at far too fast speeds. Velocitized drivers can find themselves in off-road following an understeer skid. And I'm just going to kind of skip over this a little bit. This is kind of something for more individuals who might drive all the time. Right now, you're a new driver. You're getting familiar with the car and what you need to do. And we are going to skip these target zones here. And because they're not loading very quickly, I'm going to just kind of skip around a little bit. I apologize. This afternoon must be there's a lot of work going on my computer system in the background because this is loading extremely slow and not as efficient as I would like for this afternoon's class that I'm addressing here at this moment. So bear with me. We'll get it loaded up in just a second here. Well, I guess with as much issue and difficulty as we're having, we are coming to the end where all we would have are the BAM pictures here, those little videos that we do. Oops, I guess it's gonna upload now a few, so you can take a little glance here a second. Alrighty, I'm gonna skip forward to the next one. Okay, I think with this, we have seen enough of those spam videos, and I don't want to hold up your time at the end here with circle of what I call circle of death and not loading. So unfortunately, I apologize. It's not going to load as quickly and nicely as it has for the previous units. So this one, we're just going to be and let be. So when you completed this unit, I'm going to ask that you respond to the questions in an email as we set up. And this is going to conclude this unit at this time.